You might have a degree in economics by the time I'm done with you. Hey there guys, my name is Tyler and welcome back to yet another Ty Talk. Thank you for clicking on this video and I hope you find it helpful, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more content on how to be better. There are a lot of different ways that I can talk about wages and how the economy works, and I can go into great detail. But these videos will be simplified versions. For this video, I will be talking about what wages are and why the minimum wage is stupid. In later videos, I will be talking about topics like equal pay and why socialism and communism are also stupid. But for now, wages. What are they? Wages, or a wage, is a payment made by an employer to an employee for work done in a specific period of time. Some examples of wage payments include compensatory payments such as minimum wage, prevailing wage, yearly bonuses, and remunerative payments such as prizes and tip payouts. Wages are part of the expenses. Keep this part in mind. Part of the expenses that are involved in running a business. It is an obligation to the employee regardless of the profitability of the company. So conceptually, what are wages? A wage is money received for the work you do over a given period of time. This is why we typically express it as dollars per hour, like $15 per hour. This means that if you do your job for 1 hour, you will receive $15. Pretty easy to follow, right? Do thing for 1 hour and you will get $15. Here's another way that you can look at it, and it's a way that people typically don't view it. If you have agreed to this exchange of work for $15 an hour, you are selling your labor for $15 an hour. Again, people don't typically view it this way, but they really should, because that is exactly what you're doing. Every time you go to work, you are in fact selling your labor. Before I dive into minimum wage, I need to tell everyone who may not know this that price fixing is illegal. And what is price fixing? It's typically when there is an illegal agreement between competitors to manipulate prices, rather than letting market forces, like supply and demand, determine them. This is illegal because price fixing violates antitrust laws by eliminating competition, which leads to higher prices, fewer choices, and stifled innovation for consumers. Minimum wage is an example of price fixing. But what is minimum wage? Minimum wage is the lowest remuneration that employers can legally pay their employees, or the price floor, below which employees may not sell their labor. So conceptually, an employer is not allowed to pay you wages lower than X dollars an hour for your labor, and you are not allowed to sell your labor for less than that. So the government has made it illegal for you to not only be paid beneath a certain level, but illegal for you to sell your labor beneath a certain level. They have said that everyone is required by law to sell their labor at least X dollars an hour. If everyone sells their labor at the same price, that eliminates competition and leads to higher prices, fewer choices, and stifled innovation for consumers. Ergo, price fixing. I can hear all of you right now saying, no, it's only between companies. Yeah, the government mandated that companies are not allowed to buy labor below a certain level. Moving on. Minimum wage first came into existence in the U.S. when it was signed into law by Franklin D. Roosevelt in 1933. He signed the National Industrial Recovery Act, but it was later found to be unconstitutional since it gave undue legislative powers to the executive branch. If you don't know this, the legislative branch makes the laws and the executive branch enforces them. The executive branch is not allowed to make up their own laws. But in 1938, FDR signed the Fair Labor Standards Act, which established the minimum wage at 25 cents an hour. The goal of the minimum wage was to ensure a baseline of income for workers, stabilize the economy, and protect workers from poverty-level wages. And it accomplished zero of those things. Well, I mean, it did give them a baseline of income, to be fair. Now, personally, I am against having a minimum wage. I believe you should be allowed to sell your labor for whatever price it is that you want. Like how I've said in my previous videos, I'm a photographer, and here's some of my work. Now, if you want me to photograph your wedding, it's going to be $600 an hour. But wait, who set that rate? Oh, that's easy. Supply, demand, and I set that rate. I have found a price point that works for me. I don't need the government coming in and telling me what I'm legally required to sell my labor for. Some of you are probably saying, well, yeah, you don't need the government because you're well above minimum wage. That's true, but I'm not only concerned for myself. I'm also concerned for the people that aren't as skilled as I am. The people who likely can't charge what I charge for my services, and the businesses that are constantly having their costs increased by the government. Quick warning, a lot of math is on its way to you. And keep in mind what we went over earlier. Minimum wage increases the expenses in running a business. So let's take 100 people. Each of these 100 people has a spot from 1 to 100. Each spot represents what they can actually sell their labor for. So person 1 can only sell his labor at $1 an hour. Person 2 for $2 an hour, person 3 for $3 an hour, all the way up to person 100 who sells his labor at $100 an hour. This arrangement also represents the skills of the people. Person 1 is very low skill, and that's why his labor is so cheap, whereas person 100 is highly skilled, and that's why his labor is more expensive. So let's compare a couple of different situations now. If there was no minimum wage and you hired every single person here, it would cost you $5,050 an hour. If there was a $10 minimum wage and you hired everyone here, it would now cost you an additional $90 an hour, bringing your new total to $5,140. If there was a $20 minimum wage and you hired everyone here, it would cost an additional $190 an hour, bringing your new total to $5,240. As you can see, as minimum wage goes up, the cost of doing business goes up, not only making it harder on the business, but that increased minimum wage also increases the cost of goods sold. For those of you who don't know anything about business, the cost of goods sold, or COGS, is the direct cost of producing the goods sold by a company. So as wages go up for the production of these goods, so does the price the company needs to sell the goods at in order to make money off of them. If a company is able to keep their costs down, they can sell their goods for less. But making it harder on the business isn't the only issue. The more important issue that no one ever seems to really talk about, and they'll even lie about it if they do talk about it because they're pushing an agenda, but the real issue is that as you raise up the minimum wage, you're throwing low-skilled labor out of the job market. You are creating a permanent, unemployed class of low-skilled workers. Why would anyone ever hire person 1 for $20 an hour when his labor is only worth $1 an hour? Per usual, that is an honest and real question. If you've made it illegal for him to sell his labor at what it truly is worth, he will never find work. Think about this in any other context. What do you buy? Things that are worth it to you. If a loaf of bread is now worth $1,000, you're likely not going to buy it. There's a direct relationship to how much something is and how much we value it and take care of it. Lost the pen? No biggie. Just get another one. They're cheap. Lost your car? Well, that's not so easy to replace now, is it? Remember from before, if you hired everyone with no minimum wage, it would cost you $5,050. Well, what happens if that's all the money that you have for wages? You have razor-thin margins and you can't hire anyone else even without the addition of minimum wage. And now the government comes in and says it's illegal for you to pay your employees what they agreed to be paid. To pay them what they knowingly and willingly sell their labor for. That you are now required by law to pay them at least $20 an hour. What happens to the employees that are low skilled? Person 1 through 19? Well, now they're fired. As a business, you're going to get rid of the low skill workers for the exact reason of it's low skill. Anyone can do it, including people that are already working for you, and you're not going to pay such a premium to have employees that aren't worth the cost. So instead of having 100 employees, let's just say that's full employment, you have fired 19 people, which leads them to being unemployed. You've now removed 19 jobs from your company, and don't think that you're the only company doing it. Virtually every other company will look at person one and say that there's no chance in hell that they will pay them 20 times the amount that he's worth. So, with the increase in minimum wage, you fired people, increasing unemployment, shrunk the amount of jobs that your company offers, and increased the workload on your remaining employees. And what do we do with all these newly unemployed people? Well, obviously, you offer them social services, unemployment, welfare, food stamps. Oh yeah, you now need to subsidize their lives so they can keep on existing. Instead of employing them and giving them the means to make their own way in life, it is now illegal for you to pay them what they are worth. And now that no one will hire them, the people that are working need to lose more of their money to pay for the people that aren't working. But let me guess. There aren't a lot of low-skilled workers, right? Well, the average IQ in the US is 100, and low levels of IQ start at 85. So 16% of the population is low IQ and hence low-skilled. And what is 16% of the available workforce? Oh, you know, only 27 million people. Let's go back to our group of people and now set up an extreme example really quick. Let's raise the minimum wage up to $50 an hour. Now, 49 people are at risk of losing their jobs at your company, and that ends in one of two ways. The first way, if you can't afford to keep them, those 49 people get fired, and the remaining 51 people now need to lose more of their income through taxes to pay for those 49 people. They will be taxed more since more social services will be needed to pay for the 49 unemployed people. The second way, if you can't afford to keep them, you're going to be increasing the price on the goods that you sell, which makes it harder for everyone to buy them, and that drives down the demand for your goods. So now fewer people will be buying your goods, which will likely lead to you firing people anyway because you can't afford to keep them. This literally just happened with our economy. Inflation hit. We lost value in our dollar, and we lost purchasing power. Our dollars couldn't buy as much as they could before. We all stopped buying a lot of things that got too expensive. So we had to make do with less. And what is the stupid solution you hear from people on the left? Just pay them more money. So you want to increase the cost of doing business, which increases the price of goods, making it harder for people to buy them, which increases inflation, and that leads to more job losses. No, absolutely not. Let's take a look at this really quick. I'm sure some of you have seen it, but in case you haven't, this shows our purchasing power over time. It basically says that in 1972, you could use $20 to buy an entire cart of groceries. In 1992, it was half the amount, and then barely anything in 2012. In order for us to get back to 1972, we need to figure out how to make goods cheaper. How do we lower the expenses for companies? That is our goal. The goal is not, $20 can't buy you as much, so let's just make it mandatory that everyone makes $20 an hour. No, that further empties our shopping carts. Again, I can already hear so many of you, but companies are making record profits. Yes, the market is not healthy right now. It's not functioning how it's supposed to be. There are going to be imbalances because of all the fuckery that's already involved. And I can also hear some of you trying to attack me and saying I'm defending major corporations like Walmart who pay awful wages. No, I'm not. I'm not defending them at all. I'm defending the other 99.9% of all companies. Or you mean other corporations like McDonald's? No, this is the other part that no one talks about when talking about minimum wage. When you increase the minimum wage, you increase the expenses on all companies. not just the major conglomerates that dominate the world. You increase it for the 99.9% of companies that are small businesses. You know, the 34 million companies that employ almost half of all American workers. If you raise minimum wage under the theory of, well, major corporations can pay their employees more, you're effectively trying to kill 99.9% of companies. And you know who can pay their workers more and who won't be affected by wage increases? Major corporations. They want you to want to hire minimum wage to kill their local competition. Walmart can pay more. Well, they fucking better be able to. They are literally the world's largest company. And you think that a local mom and pop pizza shop is on the same level as Walmart. So, in conclusion, the goal is to lower the costs, keep expenses down. You have two ways of getting people more money: lower their expenses or pay them more money. Paying them more money against market forces has a cascading effect, making everything along the way worse. Assuming that Grok is telling me the truth, states that have higher minimum wages had a harder time recovering from the government shutdowns. So when they were paying people more and had more money for relief programs, they couldn't recover as quickly as states with a lower cost of living. Yes, a lower cost. Giving low-skilled workers more money just makes everything more expensive and likely ends up with them getting fired anyway. That makes everything worse by not only increasing the cost of everything, but by creating a class of dependent people. And what is better, being dependent or independent? The goal is to make things better. You do that by making them better. Increase their skills and abilities so they can earn more money on their own. And no, sending them to college to get some useless degree is not making them better. It's putting them in debt and turning them into wage slaves. If I'm going to be taxed, it's going to go towards making people better, increasing people's value and skills so they can afford to live independently from me and my taxes, and not to pay for them to sit around doing nothing. As an atheist, I'm not religious, but this is literally the entire point of give a man a fish, you feed him for today. Teach a man to fish, and you feed him for the rest of his life. We should be focused on improving these people and increasing their value. That's literally the whole point of my videos. You cannot sit there and just demand people pay everyone more money. That's not how the market works, and you're interfering with it, and that is only going to make things worse. Hey there guys, thank you so much for watching that video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you haven't already, be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one. Thank you again so much for watching.